Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Testimony Thursdays. I'm your host, Dr. Jas, and we have a very special guest with us today, Dr. Domonique. So we will go ahead and get started with our scripture because it's been a morning, y'all. The Wi-Fi has been trying to act up, but we're going to get it together. So our scripture is from Psalms 27, and it is 13 through 14. Yet I am confident I will see the Lord's goodness while I am here in the land of the living. Wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord. So that's our scripture for today, and I can't wait to get into it. We have so much to talk about, y'all. I may have to cut my camera off during certain parts of the episode because of the Wi-Fi, but that'll be all right. So, Dr. Dominique, can you please introduce yourself to the people? Like, oh my goodness.
What's up, people? My name is Dr. Dominique. My last name, I don't is there, but Dr. D is here. I am born and raised, live in Richmond, Virginia. I am 27 and I'm a pediatric OT working in school-based and private practice.
Thank you, Dr. Dominique, for that introduction. And we are going to start with the icebreaker. I tried to kind of loosen up the conversation and get everything warmed up. So my icebreaker for you is okay. First of all, I have two questions to ask you because one I really can't remember. But the first question is, what was your first, not first, what was your best memory at Shenandoah University when you were obtaining your degree? What's your best memory?
Oh, let's see. Probably doing hippotherapy. That was something I had never done before. And here we are working in pediatrics. And I've never even heard of hippotherapy, but it was very fun. I feel like it gave me a good idea of like our scope is wide and to not stay in a box. So that was probably one of my top memories. Other ones starting the COTAD chapter because we really needed some diversity across our campus, across my cohort. And so that was like a big milestone for me too while being there. And a highlight, yeah.
I love that. I've never got to do like hippotherapy with actually like working with the patient, but I did volunteer when I was at Shenandoah to help like clean the barns and make sure the horses were all good to go. But honestly, I am scared of horses, so I'm like, I don't even think I would be able to do that. But that's a very, very cool experience. So thank you for sharing that. Also, y'all, so I met Dr. Dominique through this program that we did through Georgetown University. And Dominique was just always amazing. Like the person that you see today is like who she was in school as well, like very passionate, very outspoken. And I'm so glad we stayed connected over the years. But my next question is, Dominique, have we ever met in person?
That's the crazy part. We have never met in person. Um, Class did it, and then relationships are so important. I actually think our first time connecting was on Zoom, or yes, it was Zoom because we had a like virtual meet. And from there we just kind of, hey girl, hey, I see you, and stayed there. And then at school, we were in school during COVID. So I think it was my second year when COVID like peaked and everything shut down. So we were still virtually together. Graduations happened at different times. So we never have been in person together, but we are from the same side of the coast. So here we are.
That is just so fun to me. And I have another guest on here too, a podcast episode I did, and I was like, y'all, this lady has been my mentor for almost 5 years now, and I've never met her in person. And I was like, oh my goodness. So, social media can definitely be used as a powerful tool to connect with people and stay connected. And I just remember because me, Dominique, and Symphony and Aaron, we were all in the same like group during our. So basically, I think I talked about this in a previous episode, but this program was called George. It was called the George program, And it was basically learning about how to be a practitioner in the early intervention setting. So it was a very, very helpful program. And I'm still in contact with the person who was starting it, Dr. Toby. She's not a part of it anymore. I think she's like retired now, but she's very, very helpful with everything. And I felt very prepared going into early intervention through that program. So I'm definitely thankful for that. And I have to get Symphony on the podcast too. I'm not sure where Erin is. I haven't I don't know, kept up with her, but
Sure, I actually think she's moved, but I see her every now and then on social media. Power of social media. I see her every now and then there, but yeah. I keep up with Symphony a little bit.
yeah, yeah, I see Symphony on Facebook, so that's good to keep up with her like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's a really good program. And we have so much to talk about in this episode. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to start first. But let me see. Let's start with how do you avoid burnout in your setting, and talk about your setting. Talk about what you do in the schools, what you have experienced, and because I know that you are so empathetic and you're so passionate, and you work in a school where it's underserved, and you're going the extra mile to make sure these kids get what they need, like inside of occupational therapy and outside of occupational therapy. So discuss a little bit about your role as an OT there and how you avoid burnout.
Okay, well, what you hear is school OT, we work on handwriting, and it's way more than handwriting. I'm here to tell you that. If you nobody else tell you that, I told you that. It's more than handwriting. I really kind of take everything that my name is attached to and be very passionate about it. But compassion fatigue is real. So outside of work, my occupations are working out, hanging out with my family. And if y'all hear them in the background, it's because they are here. On the weekends, this is what we do. We hang out. I refill my cup by making sure that I pour back into myself. So after work, I go to the gym, or on the weekends, either I'm hanging out with my family or taking a road trip, something that is just strictly for you. But while at work, I make sure to set in my schedule 30 minutes out of the day. That is my lunch and admin time to just honestly sit down and relax. I'm very firm on please don't bother me in this time. So healthy boundaries. I set them at the beginning of the school year and we reevaluate them at the second half of the school year. And those boundaries are the lunchtime or the last 30 to 45 minutes of the school day. I'm not popping around classrooms unless it's an absolute emergency. Or in the beginning of the day, I'm taking the first 30 minutes to kind of get my day set. Um, I will say if you ever see my room, it's a vibe in there. I got lights, I got crash pads on the floor, soft carpets, pillows everywhere. I turn on vibes on my computer. So I try to make it a very comfortable, safe space for my kids and for myself so that the day goes very smooth and also to avoid us getting burnt out. So yeah, I try to set the vibe early in the morning. I read my Bible, my devotionals before I go to work, and when I get home from work, I shut the day down by finishing with that. So I avoid burnout by just making sure that I'm pouring into myself and pouring into my kids.
Yeah, that's so good. And setting healthy boundaries is so important, but not only setting them, but following through with them.
Mhm.
And for me, like a quick story time, it wasn't even like about work, but I like to go to Starbucks in between the time that I'm documenting because I do home health. So um I'm trying to like get my documentation done and also get like a little snack. And this man kept talking to me when I was trying to get my documentation done. And instead of me, like I'm 30, I should be able to say like, "Hey sir, like um it's nice to meet you," or like, "I hope you have a great day. Like I'm really trying to get some work done before I have to go back to work." Instead of me saying that, I literally got in my car and went to Panda Express. And it's like, why did you just set a healthy boundary? Like, why do you have to? And I'm like, I didn't want to be mean. And it's like, girl, like you can stand up for yourself and say, listen, like, I'm really trying to get this done. I'm trying to stay on task, like, and not do it in like a mean way. So
Yes.
that's
And that
something that
advocacy in schools, that is a big component. advocacy, advocacy, advocacy. You have to do it for these children because some have the voice to say and some do not have the voice to say. And also, you are advocating to the admin, you're advocating to the school board. It's a lot of people that are working with children. So you have to kind of, it's almost like put your big girl panties on, speak up for yourself, girl, or speak up for these kids. So set those healthy boundaries. I don't send any emails before 8 a.m. I will not email you after school. Don't text me. Don't call me between those time frames. That's healthy boundaries. You got to have them.
That's so good, Dominique. Oh my goodness. See, I need to work on that. That's gonna be on my to-do list
To-do
2025.
list.
Yeah. And it's like I definitely, I'm getting better at it, but it's always room for improvement. So that's so true.
It's okay.
Yeah.
There are days that it's like to the T, and there are days that it's not, and it's okay.
And so even with all of that, like that, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of knowledge. And for you, you are always staying like up to date with everything. Like your ideas and your treatments are like so creative and innovative. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like some of the things that you post on your social media, I'm like, I would have never thought of that. So I think that's a really just you have a lot of good ideas. So what made you want to start your social media melanated OT? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, melanated OT. Well, as you can see, I'm a brown girl, natural girl. And I get a lot of compliments about my skin. And also I try to pour that into my children about being confident about who they are in their skin, no matter what color you are. And so back in school, I kind of posted on my personal page just like behind the scenes of what it looks like for me in school because people used to say, "Oh my god, you're so disciplined. Oh my god, you're so like you're just on it with school." And I'm like, "Y'all, you see the good, the bad. Like I want you to see it all." And so then people said, "Whoa, do you have a social media account?" I was like, "No, not for my OT stuff. Like I'm just a girl. I'm just a student, trying to learn my way and learn what honestly this profession is about and I'm still learning what this profession is about." But then after my like midway through my master's, when we moved to COVID style of school, I was like, okay, maybe this is the time to start a social media account because school looks so different. And so I started one and I wasn't really super consistent with posting. I'm still not very consistent with posting because life is busy, but I started to document like my school journey from before COVID to in COVID school journey. And people just said, hey, we want to see more. We want to see more. And when I got ready to apply actually for my doctorate, I kind of shut everything down and did a whole big reveal. And so from there, I kind of just kept posting um, to finishing that, finishing the George program, finishing my master's, and then getting that first job, which I was in outpatient pediatrics when I started and transitioned into contract life. And I contract to the schools, and then I work inpatient PRN with adults. So the social media account kind of just came along the way after people kept asking, honestly, what is OT? And what is that? What does my day to day look like? So yeah, it's evolving now. Y'all check me out on there.
That's so good. I think you want like being like consistent too, because that takes a lot of discipline, and that's something that I'm working on with my social media as well. And like you said too, like you show a lot about occupational therapy and about your journey through occupational therapy as well. And I try to be as transparent as I can too about my journey throughout physical therapy school and how I felt out of physical therapy school. And I had to petition to get back in, and it pushed my graduation back a year, and it was a lot of things that people didn't know that I went through. So I wanted to like talk about that and share my testimony so it can inspire others and help people not give up on their dreams. So I know for you, you were talking about how it took you a couple of tries to pass the occupational board. I forgot what that's called, but could you talk about that journey and how you conquered it?
Yeah, the NBCOT was a beast. I took my test 5 times, and I'm here to tell you, no matter how many times you can take it, how many times you take it, you will become the OT that you want to become. Um, I across that 5 attempts, it took me about a year and a month to pass. Shout out to Black History Month because I actually passed during Black History Month, so it was even more special. I went through a lot with taking that exam. The first time I took it, I didn't know honestly what to expect. But when I got on there, I was like, oh gosh, okay. I'm not super good at testing, but I'm going to do the best that I can. The second time I took it, I still kind of just felt like, okay, you don't really know what's going to happen until you get your results back. The third time I took it, I did feel a little bit more confident, but I was also at that point fatigued. Like, could not see anything else, did not want to think about it, started to lose my confidence. Didn't pass. Shout out to my family because they really held me down the whole time. And then my fourth attempt, I felt actually more confident, but I took off like 2.5 months, maybe three. I don't really remember the full time frame, but 2.5 to 3 months of just like getting my confidence back, taking a break from studying because I also was doing it in the pattern of like this is my job right now. I was not working during the first three attempts, and then I got a rehab tech job, which is actually where I'm at now in inpatient rehab. But I was a rehab tech for a while, and I used that experience in between lunch breaks and when I'm off to study, to prepare for my fifth time. My fifth attempt, I passed it with flying colors. And thank God for my mentor. Shout out to my mentor. I'm not going to say her name, but she knows exactly who she is. She was with me one foot in front of the other to pass that thing. And it went back to we're going to start from day one, assignment one, topic number one. And I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I had to really dive into teaching myself everything. And I studied every day, going to the library as if I was going to class. So that was a journey of just faith, having faith of a mustard seed, faith of a mustard seed, um, taking time to really pour into myself, which I think has carried over now into my job because I used to take nature walks, go running, go hiking, all the things, just trying to refill my cup. And then also being dedicated to the process and trusting the process because there is a reason why God put me in that position. And I think that really has made me into being one of the best therapists out here in my area, and I'm going to toot my own horn because I really truly try to cater every single session, whether it's adults or children, to be the most meaningful. So that journey of what seemed so dark turned into being like one of the greatest moments of my life.
Oh my, Dr. Domonique, thank you so much for sharing that. Like, people need to hear that. People need to hear what happens when you don't give up. And when I hear that story, I hear perseverance, I hear resilience, I hear surrendering to God. And that is just so powerful because it's like you could have, and I hear humility because
Yep.
one, you could have been like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. Like, I finished school and, I'm trying to pass this test, but I'm not passing it. So you could have gave up. Being a rehab tech, you could have been like, I'm an OT. Like, I already have my degree. Like, you could have had that just sense of pride that could have destructed your future pathway and your future plan. Because we know the Bible says pride comes before destruction. But no, you remained humble. You remained on that path of just persevering, and all of that helped you for the better. In full circle moment, you was a rehab tech at that place, and now
Yep.
you're an OT. And I'm like, I just feel like that's just so powerful. And people need to hear that. People need to hear those stories because people are going through that every day. Like, my DMs are always filled with, oh,
Time.
I didn't pass the NPTE. I failed out of PT school. Like, I had somebody message me and say they failed out of PT school, their third year of PT school, and she is continuing to go. She's applying to different schools, like she's continuing to get on that path. And I'm like, this is what happens when you don't give up. This is what happens when you persevere. And it's not only about us, but it's about the future patients that we have and your students at your school. Because yeah, it's like, oh my, I have so many questions. Like, but thank you.
Listen, shout out to God because let me tell you, me and him had a real good relationship prior. But when that year came, it was like surrender everything. And me and him, Oh God, I love you because let me tell you, he literally guided me step by step to make it to the end. And if it wasn't for him, I would not be sitting on here telling you that your girl's a doctor in occupational therapy.
Wow. Wow. See, God will show you how good it can get. Like, seek him first and his kingdom and his righteousness, and everything will be added unto you. Like, we have to remember to keep him first. And that's exactly what you did and exactly what you're doing. And my next question would be, how many other Black therapists do you work with at that school currently?
Well, very similar to my academic career. I am the only Black OT, and I'm actually the only OT. So it's been a journey. um, I use the fuel from me persevering through that test to guide me every single day because it's just me and God. And I ask him, give me the clarity, give me the strength, give me the knowledge that I need to serve this community because right now it's just me. Shout out to one of my friends, Asia. Me and her went through the study journey together. Me and her went through tech life together and now OT life together. Um, and I bounce stuff off of her all the time, but she's the only other Black OT actually in this area that I know.
You know what? That how many Black students would you say you have
In my cohort or in my population?
in your the students that you serve?
I would say about 60% of them are Black.
See, to me, it's like to think of that and to think about how I'm pretty sure like you're probably the one of the only school-based like pediatric OTs, Black OTs. I'm pretty sure when I was working in South Carolina, I was working in a very underserved area. And I did inpatient rehab and I was working early intervention, school-based peds, and outpatient pediatrics. I'm pretty sure I was the only Black physical therapists. Like, because the people who worked at the inpatient rehab, some of them were physical therapy assistants. And I remember it was a funny story that happened with one of my families or whatever. But I remember my physical therapy assistant, my coworker, she was like, it was basically a mishap that happened. And she was like, I don't understand how this happened when I'm pretty sure you're the only Black physical therapist like in this area. And I was like, exactly. So I feel like that is it's very like just I don't understand how that happens when we work in a predominantly Black area. Like the area that I worked in was predominantly Black and Latino. And I'm like, why do we not have any therapists that represent the numbers that we're seeing? So
I
that was
and it's a very diverse community. Like this whole area is pretty diverse, but it goes back to opportunity. Shout out to my parents because if it wasn't for them, I would not have even been able to go to college. They really helped me get through financially, mentally, physically, emotionally, all the things. But now, even to this day, it's getting harder to afford to go to school. And so people are either getting an associate's degree to become an assistant or they're not able to go to school at all. And it's because of lack of opportunities, lack of the financial support. It's they want to go, or some people, it's just they don't even know what our options are because historically we're not seen as we can be this. So it's also very important, power social media. It's also very important that we talk about these things, have these meetups so that we can encourage the people coming behind us or the people in front of us that want to, achieve the same dream.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with all of that. And I feel like too, people aren't aware of the field. Like I didn't know what an occupational therapist was until like my sister was looking into it. And I didn't know you could work in pediatrics. Like even when I was going through school as a physical therapist, I didn't know all of the different options that were available. So I feel like the more we educate people on social media and advocate for people and be a mentor to people. Like now we're at that point where, we can look back and we can grab people to come with us as well that look like us and that are passionate about it. So I feel like that's a really good point. And we are going to wrap it up shortly. I do want to talk about one last point, and it's what's going on in like today's world currently. And there has been some um, potentially upcoming changes with the Department of Education. And I know for me, like the current president wants to dismantle it. And for me, I was just having concerns because I'm like, what does it mean for the IDEA and for, children who have disabilities and for healthcare workers that are working in the school systems. So those are some of my concerns about what's going on. And I know people have been talking about it on social media. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts. Like, what do you think about the Department of Education no longer existing?
I'm a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie because again, we're talking about children, we're talking about young adults trying to, obtain their future, and we need to be in a more inclusive world, state, country, but it takes, us as healthcare providers to provide the service so that they can become independent and do the things that they dream and desire to do because at the end of the day, they are still humans too. I think it is going to mess with funding for sure. And like I said, I'm in private practice right now, and a lot of parents, their response is, I really need, somebody that's taking insurance because they can't afford to get the services. So with us losing this, whatever is going to happen, it worries me that we're going to have kids either make a lot of regression or they're not going to get serviced at all, or they're going to, go through these spurts of we'll go for 3 months, we'll go for 6 months, and then nothing, and then they're going to regress. So it's a little scary. I think that the way we can kind of overcome this is by providing grants or scholarships to families and sponsoring families more as practitioners, linking up with people in the community to make these smaller missions become more known missions because behind the scenes there are small communities here in Richmond alone that are here to support people in need and supporting students in schools, and it's going to take that strong community relationship to help these children be successful. So, yes, I am a little bit worried about it, but also I got faith in God that He is the controller of all of this. So, we're going to move with that faith that these kids are going to be just fine. Our jobs are going to be just fine. Everybody's going to be very successful, and life's going to go on.
See, Dominique, this is why I love you. Like that answer was perfect. Like Dominique for president, period. But that's just I feel the same way. And I feel like it's kind of a blessing because it's forcing us to educate ourselves about what is going on in today's world. And it's forcing us to really rely on our communities. So just like how you said, like there's so many different initiatives that we can take by ourselves. And like I love that you are not the type of person that's just gonna complain and like try to put everything on something else. Like you already gave solutions of what we can do. Those are action steps that everyone can take that is listening to this podcast. So thank you so much for sharing that and providing hope to other people. So I'm definitely excited about what's to come and everything that you have planned in your future. And we are going to end the podcast. So every episode I ended by just asking the guests, what is a current test that you're going through that's going to lead to a testimony, or what is a test that you've been through that has led to a testimony?
Ooh. Um, let's talk current. I am trying to open my own practice and I'm putting it out there and we manifesting it. I am trying to open my own practice. I do not have all the details, but I'm writing it down to make it happen, praying about it. Um, I am Melanated OT on Instagram currently, but very, very soon, I can't say the day, but very soon that we're about to do a rebrand, and that rebrand is going to be the works of this testimony that's about to happen.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Dominique, I'm excited. I am ready to support you in any way that I can. And I know that your business is going to flourish. It's going to be overly abundant. And yeah, you're going to have a waiting list because so many people are going to want to be on your caseload. Like, you are a wonderful person and a phenomenal therapist. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for being a guest on my podcast. I appreciate you so much.
Appreciate
And stay tuned, everyone, for next week, Thursday. Thank
it.
you, Dominique.
Bye.